Hello. It's one of those got to get stuff off my mind um, videos. The last couple of days, I have been feeling kind of defeated by everything going on. The Supreme Court rulings about the migrants going down to Venezuela. They're allowed to stay there. They need their due process rights. Yeah, but it wasn't the right venue for it, the right jurisdiction. They didn't have proper standing. Nothing to do with the case. Nothing to the fact that that Trump is trying to use a two century old law that hasn't been used since World War II, and even that was questionable about being in wartime. And we're not talking about trade wars or the war on drugs. We're talking about a congressionally declared war. They said nothing about that. Said, nope, this suit should have been brought up in Texas where the people left. And I believe there's now suits in, I want to say New York and Texas going on. And 60 Minutes, I believe it was, did an expose, investigative journalism thing where they said there's about 75% of the people that were deported that they can find, because I don't know how well those records are maintained. 75% of them, they can't find any records of criminal activities, whether here or back in Venezuela. So they were just brown with tattoos. That's pretty much what it was. That was their crime. That we don't know about because there was no due process for them. I got to say that really took the wind out of my sails. And Brego Garcia, guy from Maryland, Supreme Court said we're going to put a stay on that. Yeah, time is kind of the essence in this case. The federal court judge, the district court judge said, no, I'm giving you until a specific time to bring him back. It was the mistake of the U.S. government. We are paying this country for that use of that facility. We should be able to get him back and do it. They went to, Trump appealed it. Trump's administration regime appealed it. And they said, no, the lower court was correct. You have to get him back. The Supreme Court, because they didn't rule on it. They just said, no, we're gonna hold off on it. He can stay there until we sort it all out. What the fuck? I mean, sort it out. The man is in prison unnecessarily in a place that we specifically said he cannot go back to. And so I was feeling a bit crushed with all of that. And then I'm going to be completely honest. I've seen the stock market's tanking, and then yesterday there was this huge rebound because of the pause. And I've gotten home from work. I've done some journaling, and as I'm doing that, I'm listening to some of the news of the day. And now it turns out that, albeit Trump on Friday, today's what, Thursday? Friday, Monday, I've lost track, said, nope, these reciprocal tariffs, which, I don't think he understands what the word reciprocal means, because he's tariffing people that didn't tariff us, including uninhabited islands. He's saying that no, this is a reciprocal tariff, so that way he can fix the trade imbalance. All right, so the tariffs are supposed to bring American manufacturers back here, but they were supposed to stop the flow of fentanyl. And then it's going to replace the IRS because we're taking money in from the other country. What is the plan? There is no plan. It keeps changing. The goalposts keep getting shifted and moved around. And so when he first put out these reciprocal tariffs, which are based on numbers of trade, like a trade imbalance, a trade deficit, which is neither good nor bad. It just is. So they took the trade imbalance to determine what the tariff rate was going to be. Hold on, let me go back. They took the trade imbalance divided by the amount of, I think, imports specifically. And that was considered the tariff rate, which you divided by 2 to be generous, unless it was under 10%, and then it just became a standard 10%. So even if you had a trade surplus, they like with Australia, for example, we tariff them 10% to fix the trade imbalance in our favor. I don't know. I don't get it. But the way they figured out that tariff, it's like they took the surplus or the deficit and divided it by the imports, which gives you an answer, but not to the question you're looking for. It's like if I wanted to find the square footage of my garage and I took my phone number and I divided it by the area code, I would get an answer, but it wouldn't be anything that I'm looking for. It was so fucking ridiculous that this is the way he came up with these reciprocal tariffs. I digress. He said those tariffs are done. They're not getting changed. There is no thought of a pause. Even though the market is crashing, Caroline Levitt said, "Nope, we asked and answered this. This is it. There's not going to be any going back on this." And then yesterday, he says he's going to pause for 90 days the tariffs, except on China. He's going to tariff them 125%, which may actually be like 140%. But they're calling it 125, but I think in actuality it's 140%. So if you wanted to buy this from China and this cost you, $10, it's now going to cost like $25 overnight because tariffs. It's the biggest tax increase that we've ever seen. Anyway, I keep digressing. Let's circle back. So he said he's going to pause that. Stock market goes right up, and I've got to tell you, when I saw all that green on the stock market without knowing the ands and buts, I'm thinking, holy shit, what happened? Where's this rebound? Kind of the biggest rebound since I think World War II. And as much as it pains me to say, because I don't want the ship to sink, just because Trump is the captain, because I'm on that ship. I don't want it to sink. I don't want the plane going down because he's the pilot and I think he's an asshole. I still want that plane to land safely. But I got to say, I was almost disappointed in the rebound, and that may make me an asshole. But that's the way I felt. And then I learned a little bit more what they were talking about. That the people in Congress and the cabinet and people that seem to pal around with Trump seem to know that this tariff freeze was coming up. And it's not even a pause in the tariffs, because he's not saying, he didn't say he's going to get rid of that and pause the tariffs. Or no, he's going to bring it down to just 10% for everybody. So don't let the media fool you. It is not a complete pausing of the tariffs. It's only there, except for China, they're going to take it down from whatever that high amount was. That was half of the stupid rate that he came up with that had nothing to do with tariffs. He's going to bring it down to 10% across the board, even for those that we had trade surpluses with that no fentanyl is coming in from. I don't know. Maybe they're going to help with. They're going to have an Australian company come and start making stuff here. I don't know. But bigger picture. A lot of people seem to know that this freeze was going to happen and bought a lot of stocks and calls and puts. And I don't know the ins and outs of it all, but they bought stocks. About an hour or two before the stock market jumped like 21,000 or 2,100%, and made a killing on it, as if they had inside information that would be investigated by like the SEC, which isn't going to do jack shit because they're run by the Trump. It's clearly the most corrupt administration since the first Trump administration 4 years ago. And I think I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Just because the corruption is being done in the open doesn't make it any less corrupt. Corruption done in the open is still corruption. Um, and we can't rely on the federal government to go in and investigate it. They could, they have every right to, and they should, but I have zero confidence that they will. But you know who can? Um, the state attorney generals. I think specifically the New York State Attorney General, because that's where Wall Street is, and that's where a lot of these stock trades happened and formulated. So she has every right to investigate fraudulent stock purchases. So I'm going to be very interested to see if Letitia James wants another bite at that Trumpian apple, because she did really well the first time. Um, let's do it again. I don't want to say lawfare, because that's what, or weaponization, because that's what Trump is clearly doing with the Department of Justice. But he needs to be held accountable if he's telling his people, because he posted on his his Twitter Lite, now would be a good time to buy, like signaling, he's going to make this announcement about the tariffs that's going to push the stock market way up. And if you know that was going to happen ahead of time, yeah, if you know the stocks are going to go up, you buy the stocks now when they're tanking because of the terrible economic policies. And like I say, I'm a bit, I'm feeling a bit defeated with everything that's going on, and now this, and it's just frustrating that nothing's going to get done about it, at least at the federal level where it's supposed to be. You know for damn sure, if the wheels were reversed and this was Biden telling you to buy when the stock market is crashing, and there would be a Republican subcommittee made right now and already investigating, even though they're supposed to be on recess for like 2 weeks or something like that. Wish I had that gig. Yeah, so that's about it. There's so much more going on, and I just want to get at that out there, that this could be the biggest insider trading scam of all time. I mean, I know Trump likes to use those big, monumental, the greatest, the biggest. This he may have done it. It's, like I said, the most corrupt administration since the first time. And again, corruption done in the open, still corruption. What do you think?